iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
It's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. Let's take a look at the Thursday night game and we'll start previewing the games for this weekend. All right, first of all, the Chargers finally win a game here. They're 2-4 now. The Broncos 4-2. They win the game 21-13. But was it just me in the fourth quarter? Did you sit there and say, I think the Chargers may blow this one? I thought about that. I thought about that too. I really admit it. I thought that they were going to lose a game, but they didn't. Phillip Rivers went 18 for 29, 178 yards and a touchdown. So I want to tell you guys a story. I'm talking to one of my very close friends yesterday, and he's in the league, and he has Phillip Rivers or Ryan Tannehill. And I said, please, I beg you, play Ryan Tannehill. He goes, what are you talking about? Why would I play Ryan Tannehill? He sucks. And I said, look, Phillip Rivers is a better quarterback, there's no doubt. But he's playing the Denver Broncos. What's his ceiling? His ceiling is 240 yards and a touchdown. He gave you 178 and 1. Did you expect more? I really didn't. So I think Phillip Rivers, if I do the math here, is probably worth, give or take, 10, 12 points. I'll take my chances that Ryan Tannehill gets into a shootout against Pittsburgh and gets me more than that. So I knew that Rivers' ceiling was only going to be about 10, 12, 14 points. So why do I want to start that? So while I'm happy they won the game, he wasn't a great start. But you know who was a good start? Melvin Gordon was a good start. 27 carries, 94 yards. That's pretty good stuff. Look, against the Broncos defense, that's a pretty good day. I'm impressed with Melvin Gordon. He's getting better every week. And I'm going to tell you somebody else who I'm impressed with. I'm impressed with Hunter Henry. I am impressed with Hunter Henry. Many of you who've listened to me on SiriusXM, many of you who listen to me on the podcast, you know I love Hunter Henry. I told you this guy was a beast out of Arkansas, and it was just a matter of time before he was going to get involved. And they need to run 2 tight end sets. You run Henry with Gates, you run Williams with Benjamin. That's what you do. And they're starting to do that. So Henry was 6 for 83 and a touchdown. And then, look, I mentioned that Benjamin was in a bad matchup. Though that matchup did not benefit Travis Benjamin at all. 3 for 17. Williams 3 for 28. Just wasn't very good outside of Henry. But they ran the ball and they played good defense. That's what they did. For Denver, the penalties killed them. Didn't it seem like every time C.J. Anderson had a good play, they called it back with a penalty for holding? Trevor Siemian, 30 for 50, 230 yards, 1 touchdown. 30 completions, 230 yards. You're not winning in the NFL with that kind of, with dinking and dunking. You're not doing it. Booker had 5 carries for 46 yards. C.J. Anderson was 10 for 37, but I told you, he was better than that. Emmanuel Sanders, 4 for 40. Jordan Norwood, 5 for 39. Demaryius, 5 for 35. Anderson, 4 for 34. I mean, look, you're not going to win consistently when you're throwing the ball like that to your guys. When Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas have 9 catches, you're not winning. I don't know what more else to say to John Elway. You need to throw. I know your defense is good. I get it. But it's one thing when you have Peyton Manning. It's another thing when you have Trevor Siemian. Not going to win. I need Sanders and Thomas together. I need one of those guys to have 9 receptions. If I get 9 receptions from one of those guys, then and maybe then do I have a shot. Otherwise, you're not going to win. All right, let's take a look now at week number 6. The 1 o'clock games first. San Francisco and Buffalo. We're loving Carlos Hyde this week. Colin Kaepernick's return. So let me explain this. Mobile quarterbacks create running lanes for running backs. Because they move around so much, they have to spy on them, and it creates more running lanes. So Carlos Hyde, I would say, is even better with Kaepernick than he was with Gabbert, and he was already good with Gabbert. All right? Carlos Hyde would not benefit from Nick Foles or a quarterback who doesn't move, because then you put the 8-man in the box, and then you make Blaine Gabbert beat you. But because Blaine Gabbert can run and Colin Kaepernick can run, it helps Hyde even more. So Hyde should be better. I don't think Curley's going to be as good because I think that Kaepernick is not very accurate. Not that Blaine Gabbert is, but he's not going to look to dink and dunk. Kaepernick may take a shot down the field. So you might see Quentin Patton be a little bit better. You might see Torrey Smith be a little bit better. I still don't like them. I just think they could be better. Buffalo has this way of winning games and looking ugly doing it. They basically have LaShawn McCoy and nothing. But when you can't stop LaShawn McCoy, everything else works. Tyrod Taylor completes 14 passes for 150 yards, but he gets a touchdown. He runs when he needs to. He passes when he needs to. They hand the ball to McCoy, and McCoy makes it happen. McCoy makes it happen, so he is a must start. Philadelphia and Washington. This game really confuses me. I'm looking at a Philadelphia team here where I think Ryan Matthews should get the football. I think that they need to run against Washington. They spread the ball around with Green Beckham and Aguilar and Ertz, and none of those guys really make a difference on receiving. They're all about 4 or 5 reception kind of guys. And maybe that plays to Carson Wentz's strengths. The fact that he can go and figure out who to throw to over the field. But I think this is just a mess fantasy-wise. I guess I'll go with Ryan Matthews as my favorite play, but I don't really love anybody in this game. For Washington, I think this game really comes down to a couple of players here. I think Jordan Reed is out with a concussion. I'd be very surprised if he plays. I think this game comes down to Deshaun Jackson. Can he make a big play against his secondary? And secondly, can Matt Jones run the football effectively? If he can, this will be like a 23-20 game, 2017, 21-19, something disgusting like that. And it'll be a nail-biter, and Washington will win this game. If they can't figure out how to run the football, I think the Eagles win this game. Cleveland at Tennessee, Cody Kessler back. I think that's got to be good news for Pryor and Barnage. And Charlie Whitehurst is not the answer to any question except who sucks and who still plays in the NFL. I like Isaiah Crowell just a little bit, not much this week. I think Cleveland's got issues. I think Tennessee's defense is very underrated. Brian Orakpo could have a couple of sacks this week. DeMarco Murray should have a very, very big week. I won't say huge, I'll just say big. I'll say 120 total yards. He's been a very good receiver out of the backfield. I've been incredibly impressed with him. I'll use the word shocking. I never thought that he would have as many receptions as he's had. Really haven't. I love Delaney Walker this week. But I'll tell you this. I think that Sharp and Matthews and all these guys are pretty much jokers. Mariota's not ready to throw to them. He's ready to throw to Murray and he's ready to throw to Walker. Outside of that, he's not ready to throw to his receivers. Baltimore and the Giants. I read something very disturbing today where it basically said that the Giants plan to move Odell Beckham Jr. Roto around more. It took you 6 weeks to figure this out? Seriously, it took you 6 weeks to figure out to move this guy around? He's only the second best receiver in football, and you can't figure out how to use him? I'd fire you on the spot just for saying that. I'd be like, if you don't know how to use him, get out. It's like saying, oh, I've got a Maserati, but I don't know how to drive. I got a Lamborghini, but I don't know how to get out of first gear. Are you kidding me? That's just ridiculous. I couldn't have been more upset. Could not have been more upset. The Giants have to figure out a way to protect Eli Manning. He's getting about 0.2 seconds to throw the football, which is the reason why Shepard, Cruz, and Beckham have been mediocre. Mediocre. If we had a draft right now, you think I'm taking Beckham too? Not a chance. Not a chance. You better protect Eli. For fantasy owners' sake. Baltimore fires Mark Trestman this week. Brings in Marty Mornhinweg. I don't know. They'll run the ball more. They'll take some shots downfield. Joe Flacco's not a West Coast offense kind of guy. He's a Raiders. If Joe Flacco ended up playing for the Raiders at some point in his career, it wouldn't shock me. The guy's a throw the ball down the field kind of guy. That's what he does. He throws the ball down the field. 50, 60-yard bombs. That's Joe Flacco for you. Maybe Marty figures out how to use him better. Certainly wasn't with Trestman. Carolina, by the way, back to Baltimore. If Smith is absolutely out, I do like Kamar Aiken a little bit. I think people will be on Perriman. I won't be. The Giants always struggle with the tight end, so I think Dennis Pitta will be decent. Terrence West, I'm okay with, but the Giants' run defense has been pretty good. Carolina at New Orleans, this is just a game where you're starting your fantasy guys. Brandon Cooks, Willie Snead, Drew Brees, much better at home. Mark Ingram will be good, not great. I really want to see a touchdown from him. Be good, not great. Carolina, we love Olsen, we love Benjamin. Jonathan Stewart is expected back against the Saints' awful run defense. Cam Newton should be back playing well again. So this is just a game that, we should be seeing 60 points in this game, which is great for fantasy owners. Jacksonville and Chicago, I think you're going to see Blake Bortles have a better game. Blake Bortles really hasn't had a breakout game this year. It could be this week. I'm not sold on the Chris Ivory, TJ Yeldon committee there. I think Allen Robinson gets a dozen targets. I think Marcus Lee there's been a Marcus Lee sighting. Alan Hearns hasn't been special, but this could be a Julius Thomas game. For Chicago, I do like Zach Miller. I always do. I think Cameron Meredith will show you that he's the real deal. Alshon Jeffrey is still the number one target. Eddie Royal still in the slot. I think Meredith is an interesting play. I think Brian Hoyer is an interesting play. If I'm streaming quarterbacks, I do like Brian Hoyer this week. I don't love him. I like him, right? I love him enough to take a shot on him, but the next couple of weeks he has Green Bay and Minnesota. I'm not thrilled, but I like him enough this week. The Rams in Detroit, this game is an interesting game for me. I think this is going to be a field goal festival. And here's why. You don't run very well against Detroit. Detroit doesn't let up rushing touchdowns. That said, I tend to like guys who throw against Detroit. But Case Keenum, Kenny Britt is going to be covered by Slay. I like Austin a little bit, but the Rams are not a throwing team. So I like to pick on Detroit, but I really can't here with the Rams. So I guess Tavon's a play, but I'm not loving that play. For Detroit, it's about Theo Riddick. Is he healthy? Right? And is the Rams' defensive line healthy this week? A lot of those guys were injured last week. I do like Ethan Westbrooks as an IDP play if those guys are injured once again. But Riddick, Marvin Jones, Golden Tate. I think this is an ugly game. I think this game is like 16-13 with a bunch of field goals. Maybe one touchdown. Maybe a defensive touchdown. But I really think this is an ugly week. Pittsburgh and Miami. Let the sparks fly. Ben Roethlisberger is not as good on the road as he is at home. He's very good at home. Somebody once said, my friend Luke Fiorini had said, that the Pittsburgh at home is like the Rockies at Coors Field. And I thought it was a really interesting analogy. Good for you, Luke. It was good. I think Pittsburgh comes back to life this week, which makes them human. All right, because they play this game in Pittsburgh. They're winning this game 43-10. But Antonio Brown is from the Miami area, so I think he goes off 180 yards and 2 touchdowns this week. I think Le'Veon Bell will have a big week. I mean, this is just a big week here. I think the interesting play is Miami. I think Tannehill, my comment to you always is this. When you think you've solved the NFL, you realize you know nothing. So when you think that the Miami Dolphins are going to get creamed, Miami Dolphins may play this pretty close. Would it shock me if the Dolphins won this game? Yes. But if this game is like 37-34, I'm not going to be shocked. And I think a lot of that will have to do with Ryan Tannehill and Jarvis Landry. So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't hate those guys. Cincinnati and New England. Here's some narrative alert there. How about Brandon LaFell? LaFell used to play for the Patriots. You know he's going to want to impress Bill Belichick. I think that A.J. Green is going to see a lot of double coverage. He's going to see Malcolm Butler. I like Giovanni Bernard this week. I don't like Jeremy Hill at all this week. For New England, Brady, Gronk, Bennett, Hogan, Edelman, White, Blunt. Start your Patriot engines every week. There should be nothing that stops you from starting your Patriots. Nothing. Unless they're playing the Vikings. I'm starting them every week. Even against the Broncos, I'm starting them every week. Brady will figure out how to play against the Broncos. He'll just go to Gronk and Bennett all game. I have no problem. The only team that scares me a little bit are the Vikings. Outside of that, I'm playing Brady and all those guys every week. Kansas City and Oakland, I think this is a big week for Jamal Charles owners. I'm really torn. I want to fade him in daily, but if he comes on the field for 15 touches, he could do something with 10 of them. I mean, the Oakland Raiders defense is truly that bad. But I think what's going to happen if I'm the Raiders and I see Charles on the field, I don't think they're using him as a decoy. So I'm going to focus all my efforts on stopping Jamal Charles. I do like Travis Kelce. I do like Jeremy Maclin. I like Alex Smith for what it's worth. The Raiders are not a great defense, as we all know. They let up a lot of passing yards, so I'm more than happy to start my Chiefs. I'm worried about Michael Crabtree this week if he sees Marcus Peters. Without Lat Murray, I'm worried about them punching it in at the goal line. Richard is a very good player, but he's not a goal line back. Washington's a good player. He's not a goal line back. I think that the Raiders could win this game, but they're going to need a special teams play. They're going to need a Seth Roberts touchdown. They're just going to need to do something out of the ordinary because I don't think they're better than the Chiefs. So I think they're going to have to do something different to show that they're better. I think this is a very close game. I've been very impressed with Atlanta this year. I have been, but I think this is a letdown week. I am going to start Freeman. I am going to start Coleman. I'm obviously going to start Julio Jones-Roto. But after that, I really don't want to start Matt Ryan. I think, look, they were in Oakland last week. They fly back to Atlanta. Now you fly back to Seattle. Now you got to play in Seattle. The weather's a little dreary, a little rainy, a little whatever. Seattle's pumped up. The 12th man is there. I think Russell Wilson has a big week. I think Jimmy Graham has a huge week. I think Michael goes for 100 yards and a touchdown. There are just some good plays there for Seattle. So I think Atlanta looks at this game, and nobody wants to lose a game. But I think Atlanta says, you know what? If I'm going to lose, I'm okay losing on the road to Seattle. I never thought I was going to win this game anyway, right? I never anticipated winning this game. So I think if they play well, they'll be happy here. Dallas and Green Bay. I read the statistic and it was interesting. Let me see if I can click on it here. Who has Green Bay played? So Green Bay has played the Jaguars. What running game? Crappy. The Vikings. Is that the game that Adrian Peterson got hurt, or was it already hurt? The Lions, who have no running game. The Giants, who have no running game. The Packers' running game is supposedly a run defense is amazing, right? But who have they really played? Nobody. Now you're getting the Cowboy offensive line and you're getting Zeke. And I think DFS-wise, Zeke is a really good contrarian play. I think he's a really good contrarian play this week. Because people won't be on him because they go, oh, that Green Bay run defense, oh, really good. But who are they playing? Who are they playing? All those teams I mentioned have crappy run games. And they haven't seen any offensive line like Dallas. So I like Ezekiel Elliott this week. I like Cole Beasley a little bit, and that's about it. That's what I like. And I like Dallas to ball control, right? And Dak Prescott making smart plays. Dallas's defense has been pretty good this year. And they've been bend, don't break. And they haven't been broken, really. I mean, if we click on Dallas here, holding the Giants to 20 points, the Redskins to 23, the Bears to 17, the 49ers, the Bengals, they've been pretty good. So I like Aaron Rodgers because it's hard not to like him, but I don't know who goes off here for the Packers. Maybe you're going to see a Randall Cobb score, maybe an Adams score, maybe a Richard Rodgers score. I think this game has like 21-20 written on it. I think this is going to be a low-scoring, good game, a good battle, but I don't see a lot of points. Indianapolis and Houston, I really worry for Andrew Luck's life this week. The Colts' offensive line is absolutely the worst I've seen in football. I mean, the Bears had 5 sacks against them. So what do you think the Texans are going to do? They're going to dial it up. I know T.Y. Hilton has always done well against the Texans, and I know the Texans' secondary is not 100%, but this is a question of time. Does Andrew Luck have the time to get him the football? I say no. And I say right now, why the Colts aren't doing everything they can to get protection for this guy, I don't get it. When Josh Sitton was out there in free agency, where were the Colts? Where were the Colts when they were drafting Philip Dorsett? Why are they not drafting offensive linemen? Why aren't they trading up for offensive linemen? This team has no clue what they're doing. No clue what they're doing. I worry for Andrew Luck this week. I think Gore and all those guys are going to be okay, nothing special. This week is about Brock Osweiler. Miller has to get involved. Miller needs his touches. Hopkins needs his targets. Fuller needs to play well. And it all starts with Brock Osweiler. If Brock plays well, Miller has running lanes. If Brock plays well, Hopkins has openings. If Brock throws the ball deep well, Fuller makes a big play. This is about Brock. He's got to start stepping up. It's now or never, dude. If you can't do it on Sunday night at home against a bad Colts team, I don't know what to tell you. But if I'm Bill O'Brien, I better see it this week. All right, the Monday night game, the Jets against the Cardinals. I like David Johnson, but not to run for a lot of yards this week. I like him to catch a lot of passes. This is going to be like what Le'Veon Bell was last week. Remember, Bell didn't have a lot of running yards, but he had like 8 or 9 receptions. I think Johnson gets 7 or 8 receptions this week. But I really do like John Brown. I really do like Larry Fitzgerald. I think that Carson Palmer throws for 3 touchdowns this week. I absolutely do. 3 touchdowns this week. I love him. For the Jets, look, Decker's done. So I think Brandon Marshall, I think, sees Patrick Peterson. That's a bad matchup. So Quincy Enunwa's the guy. I mean, could I see Austin Seferian-Jenkins? I guess so. Bilal Powell, maybe. But I think this is an Enunwa, and I think maybe Robbie Anderson or Sharon Peak or somebody like that makes a play, because as good as Marshall is as good as Patrick Peterson is. And, there are a few guys out there that you have to watch out for, and Peterson's one of those guys. All right, time now to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. Please join scoutfantasy.com. Enter the promo code ROTO. That's ROTO. You pay for 1 month. You get 2 more for free. You get access to the Scout Score to help you with your DFS information, all the stuff that you could use. And remember, we'll be on SiriusXM Friday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern. So I hope to see you there. All right, guys, be well and take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!